Lesson 4 of the Movement Matters curriculum, and now we are at the force of finance. And yes, I would say that many people struggle to talk about finance because it seems like something that should be very personal, but it's something that I talk about within my profession. It's something that I've become accustomed to. I think it's something that's very influential for the Restoration Movement. Thinking about that, I have a credit card, and I know that some people are going to pause the screen and try to find the pixels of this credit card. This is an old one, so it doesn't even matter. But I don't know, where your perspective is on credit card. I know there's sometimes some passion about using credit cards. I have my own perspective, so we can talk about that later. But the idea of a credit card, one of the reasons that people have issues with credit cards is that what it is a representation of money, right? Is that sometimes people use credit cards and they're able to spend more because they don't equate it with actually being cash. This is one of the reasons, of the many reasons, why in gambling, and you go to a casino, which I don't go to casinos, I've just heard about this in movies and stuff. But when you go to a casino, you give them money, they give you chips. And it is that detachment from money that gets you not thinking about money, which is what leads you sometimes to gamble more than you ever should. And it's the same thing with credit cards, right? Is that as much as this is a good tool if used well, sometimes it can be a bad tool if people start to use it and not think that there's actually money associated with the use of a credit card. And that's why finance is a difficult topic, but I think it's important for us to look, a little inward in this study, specifically as it has to do with the Restoration Movement. In this lesson, we observe that there's generally two poles to the view of finance and the force of finance. One is a view of excess, and is the idea that we should just be incredibly liberal with everything that we have, just put it out there, just spend, spend, spend. On the other side, however, there is the view of scarcity, and scarcity is a keep everything to ourselves perspective, because you never know when the rainy day is going to happen. And maybe in your finances, you come somewhere on that spectrum too, right? Like you exist either between excess and scarcity, maybe leaning toward one side or the other. But I would offer that the balance between the two of those is the discipline of generosity. And generosity, another biblical ideal, this idea that what we have is not really ours, that we are merely stewards of the things that have been entrusted to us from the Lord, and we need to be careful in how we use those items and those resources. That's what we want to do in this lesson, is just to go deeper and examine this idea of how people through our movement either use money in excess, scarcity, or sometimes just plain generously to help further on the cause of New Testament Christianity. So in this study, we're honing in on this idea of us as stewards and what we have done and used to be able to take God's resources and put them back in the kingdom. Enjoy this study. Lesson 4, the force of finance.